Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
Meek deals. Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw from Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single.
1-1 for Tyson. Batista with a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Chasing 2 podcast. I'm Blake Frazier alongside Dylan Smith, episode number 19. And Dylan, of course, we got to kick things off talking about the Francisco Lindor trade. It was a huge blockbuster that went down this past week. And what was your first thoughts on that trade when Lindor went to the Mets?
I mean, not surprised. Mets have been saying they're going to make a big splash for a while now, so here it is. I don't know if that takes George Springer off the table now or Bauer off the table, or maybe they complement him with Springer. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But As far as making a splash, they definitely made a splash, and they got Carlos Carrasco with him, which is another plus. And to be honest, I didn't think they gave up too much either to get him. So definitely a win for the Mets front office.
Let's talk about the full trade. So going to Cleveland is shortstop Ahmed Rosario, prospect Andres Gimenez, who did come up last year with the Mets, Josh Wolf, who is now the 13th best prospect, and Isaiah Green, who you actually know growing up. He slides into the 16th prospect. So they did get a little decent return. When I first saw it, I thought it was a little bit underwhelming a little bit because, I mean, Lindor's in the prime of his career. He's one of the best shortstops in the MLB. So the Mets payroll, it's up to 167 million. It's reported that they don't want to go over 190. So I don't see Bauer being a fit there unless they shed some payroll. Maybe they can afford George Springer. I do think that's still a possibility, but I mean, when you look at the Mets rotation now, you had Carrasco in there with DeGrom. Stroman opted out last year. He's back this year. Syndergaard's coming off. Tommy John. You got Matz in there. Peterson at the end of that rotation. That's got the making to be one of the best rotations in baseball.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, you said they had 167 million committed right now. Why not go get a Jacob DeRizzi for 13 to 15 million?
Yeah.
You don't, in my opinion, they don't need Bauer.
Yeah. No.
They have DeGrom, and even if you want to go to the next tier below that, even if you got like a guy like Mike Leake, just to fit in that back end.
Maybe like a James Paxton, even something like that.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of suitors for Paxton though.
Yeah,
because the ceiling's high. But Leake will eat innings, and with Syndergaard, well, we don't know if Leake will eat innings because he was out last year, but his track record is to eat innings.
And you don't really know what you're going to get with Syndergaard coming off Tommy John too.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like they can add a lower tier pitcher and then complementary pieces. Maybe even instead of Springer, you go with a Michael Brantley that only costs maybe 13 million instead of the 22 to 25 million that Springer is demanding.
Yeah.
So I think that they're definitely close to being a complete team. They're missing a couple pieces, I think, offensively. But the bullpen on paper looks nice too. So
yes,
they definitely have money to play with. And we'll see what happens.
When you look at their lineup, you got Alonso at first, you got McNeil at second. You could use an upgrade at third. JD Davis can play third base and the outfield. Dominic Smith in the outfield, Brandon Nimmo in center. Like if there was a need, it would be in the outfield for me. They brought in James McCann to shore up that catching position. I like their pitching. I like their starting pitching. Their bullpen, like you said, looks good on paper, but they've been in talks maybe get a guy like Chris Bryant. Maybe that's another move that they can make to bring in Bryant at third base, shore up that defense in the hot corner. Then you can put maybe JD Davis back in the outfield. But George Springer makes a lot of sense for them. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and maybe they feel that this isn't the offseason to go and get that outfielder. Maybe they go with a guy that we've mentioned multiple times, Jock Peterson, who I think's the most underrated free agent maybe on the free agency list. So
Yeah.
maybe they go get a guy like Jock or like I said, Michael Brantley or Markakis or JBJ.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Springer. I think fits the best there.
Hmm.
But as far as trying to make a complete team, um, is Springer your guy? Because realistically, he's going to lead off for you there.
Yep.
And let's see if they had Springer in there, we take out.
Take out
Uh,
Nemo.
I'm I'm gonna say that if they were to get Springer, they'd probably look to trade Dominic Smith because even
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
um, but you got Springer leading off. You probably go McNeil, Lindor, Alonso. That's your top four. Conforto.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that Springer would be an impact bat for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but is it the impact bat that's going to take them to the World Series? Is the real question.
So, like, did you think that DJ LeMahieu could possibly go to the Mets? Like, do you think that's a fit?
I think it's a fit because McNeil could play outfield, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
DJ's been playing all over the diamond with the Yankees, so or in the infield, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's definitely a fit, but I wouldn't say it's a top five fit for me. I still think it's
So
Dodgers,
let's
Yankees.
talk about the Indians here. They've traded a lot of players the last few years. Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Lindor now. They let Michael Brantley go a while back. What's next for the Indians here? Like, do they entertain offers on Bieber, who just coming off the Cy Young? Do you sell high on a guy like that maybe this season? Do you trade? What do you do with Jose Ramirez? It seems like it's going to be a teardown here, kind of like a retool, kind of rebuild thing for the Indians. Their payroll is only $37 million this year, so it's fascinating to see what this team is going to do.
Well, in the rotation, you still got Plezak,
Mm-hmm.
and you still have Bieber, obviously,
Yep.
and Adam Plutko is another guy that comes to mind. So they're not.
And they got that who's that young kid that came up?
Oh,
Um,
Tristan McKenzie.
Tristan McKenzie. Yes.
So rotation wise, they don't look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they could still compete in the Central next year. I would say the Twins are the best team right now
Yep.
on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I would say the White Sox are the best team on paper. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Then the Twins.
But at this point, Twins, White Sox. So if I'm the Indians, they had their window. They missed it. They fell short in Game 7 of the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And now we tear it down and we do it again. It seems like that's their formula. Um, and at this point, I would entertain offers for Bieber. And I definitely get Jose Ramirez out of there too. Tigers have been in a rebuild. The Royals have been in a rebuild, so they're already a couple steps ahead.
Yep.
Luckily for the Indians, they have premier players they can trade and they could catch up quickly in that rebuild. So, um, if I was the Indians, it'd be time to tear it all down.
Okay, let's touch on George Spring here for a second. It's reported that he wants $175 million.
Hmm.
This guy must want a lot of term because the Blue Jays offered him a 5-year deal, well under 150 million. I want to guess it's in the 125 range. They probably offered him 5 years, 125, which would be 25 million AAV. This guy wants 175 mil. You're looking at like 6-7 years for Springer.
Yeah, and maybe he views himself as a $30 million player.
Yeah.
Anthony Rendon got it,
Mm-hmm.
and they both have the championship pedigree and the same poise.
Yeah.
They play different positions. And center field is a premier position as well as third base. So, um, I guess if you're a person in the front office, you're looking at George Springer. How many years is he really going to play center field for me? Do I want to move him to a corner outfield? Do I want to?
He's what, 29? Almost
I
30.
think he's 30.
So
So
at least 4 to 5 years in center. Three,
I mean, look at
three.
Andrew McCutcheon. He's not playing center no more.
That's true. That's a good point.
I mean, I know he's had injuries, and Springer hasn't had as much injuries, but
Yeah.
even when he was on the Astros, they would always shift Springer out of center field.
They put him in right. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd start in center, and then as the game progressed, they'd move him into right field.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think he's a $30 million corner outfielder, but
Yeah.
he might be a $30 million center fielder. So, I think it just comes down to what a team, I guess, would prioritize. Um, and you have to look at the projections of how long is he really going to be playing center field. To me, I think he's going to become a right fielder,
Hmm.
um, and within the next 3 years. So I don't know. I wouldn't give him 30 million. I think he's a great player, and you know this.
Yeah, you love
I
George Springer.
yeah, I love George Springer, but I think he's worth uh 25,
Yeah,
max.
yeah.
Um,
Like, I don't know. I don't know if the Jays will budge on that. Like, I don't think they would give him like 7 years because, I mean, you can't be paying a guy 25 or 30 mil going into his late 30s. Like, that's just, I don't think that's very smart. And it's probably why we'll touch on this now. Probably why the Yankees haven't signed DJ LeMahieu. They're probably thinking about the same thing. DJ
he's
LeMahieu,
32. It's
he's
even,
he's 32 years old and he wants a 5-year deal. The Yankees want to go 4, but they're far apart on dollars. And DJ LeMahieu got his representatives to re-engage in talks with the teams interested, notably the Mets, the Blue Jays, and the Dodgers. So DJ LeMahieu, it looks like maybe on his way out of New York. What was your thoughts on when you saw that report?
I'm not really surprised. I mean, the agents can say whatever they want. We're gonna be talking to this team. It's kind of just to put the
Yeah,
pressure back on the Yankees because
yeah,
it seems that DJ LeMahieu feels like the pressure's on him just to sign a deal that he's not comfortable signing. So they're trying to put the pressure back on the Yankees, and if they really want him, they're gonna bid high, and they're gonna get it done. And if they don't, then he moves on. I mean, I think that's just as cut and dry as it's gonna be.
yeah.
And when it comes down to the other teams, I think the top team would be the Dodgers. But then I saw a report today that they're very interested in bringing back Justin Turner.
I saw that too.
So they're bringing back Turner. I really don't see LeMahieu going there.
Yeah,
Um, but other than that, I guess you got the Blue Jays, um, the Giants maybe
yeah.
because they want to impact bat.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Astros if they want to move Altuve over to short. I'm just thinking
Like,
of different
yeah,
because Correa's coming off, and they
next
can move
year.
Correa.
Yeah.
They could have LeMahieu play first.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of different teams that might try to continue contending. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. He's a tough free agent because I don't see many uh teams needing a DJ LeMahieu. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
the Nationals would be a good fit.
Yeah,
I
they
think the
would be.
Nationals probably
But
would be my dark
latest
horse.
law is Howie, right? Howie was their set. Well, he was more first
Well,
base.
he played first, second, kind of what
Yeah.
LeMahieu's been doing.
Yeah.
But they want to impact bat, and they said
Top.
they want, you know, so you go get DJ LeMahieu, and he could play a second base for you.
Let's
I
talk about. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say let's talk about Impact Bat about the Nationals. They brought in Kyle Schwarber,
Yeah,
1 year, $10 million. A guy, um, he's kind of a defensive liability out and left, but there's no denying that this guy has serious power. He's gonna help that Nats lineup. He's gonna hit a lot of home runs for that club. Um, I'm a little surprised that they got $10 million though. I know you were for sure.
yeah. I thought that set the market. Uh, I mean, it's a good thing for guys that I mentioned before, Brantley, Peterson. They
Yeah.
were already above players, but I felt like their AAV should be around 10 to 12 million, and
Hmm.
now add another two on that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. Peterson's gonna get at least 13 million
Hmm.
now that Schwarber got 10. Because Peterson can play all three outfield positions.
And he can play some first
Um,
base too. Well, maybe not.
no, no,
No, no.
no.
Didn't he play some
failed
first base though?
failed experiment.
Oh, okay,
Failed
okay,
experiment.
okay. Failed
I
experiment.
think he had like 4 errors in like 10 innings.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
forgot
um
about that.
yeah, I don't think that he's going to be playing any first base anytime soon, but he could play all three outfield positions like I said,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and to me he's, a younger, better player. I think he's younger than Schwarber. I might
Mhm.
be wrong on that. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that, but going back to Josh Bell last week, we were talking about this.
That's right.
He gets to hook up with Kevin Long. So does Schwarber now. So maybe they tap into that potential. Juan Soto's there, another lefty bat.
Yep.
that he can kind of pick his brain. Um,
I like
so
what
we'll
the
see.
Nationals are doing. I like what the Nationals are doing. They brought in Josh
Yeah.
Bell, like you said. They brought in Schwarber now. Now, if they really want to like spend some more money, maybe bring in JT Realmuto. Like, why
Yeah.
not?
I
Like,
think Realmuto, Springer, and LeMahieu all fit in Washington
absolutely, they do. 100%.
because
100%.
at the end of the day, Scherzer is probably not coming back next year.
Probably
They
not.
already invested enough money in Strasburg
And
and
Corbin.
Corbin.
Yeah.
So, and he's going to be 37 years old. So he's coming off the books next year. You know what the payroll is going to look like within the next 3 years. Um, I would say that those top that the Nationals are the biggest dark horse when it comes to the free agent, other than Trevor Bauer right now.
And sticking with the Nationals, they've talked to the Reds about Eugenio Suarez, a guy who plays third base for the Reds. The Reds it's interesting what they're doing because you look at the Reds, you wouldn't really see them trading. You got like Eugenio Suarez, a guy who's got, he's under contract for a few more years. That would be a huge ad for the Nationals.
Yeah, he's a professional hitter for sure.
Yeah.
And as far as the Reds go, I'm just counting the days to get an alert saying Luis Castillo has been traded,
Oh,
or Sonny Gray has been traded. So and
sign me up for Castillo. That guy's electric,
yeah,
man.
and I want to see that. Obviously, people that are just turning in for the first time. I know I have some Angels gear on today. That was my hometown team. I did work with the Cincinnati Reds last season, or
Yeah.
2019, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm familiar with them. Um, for the new listeners. So I think that the Reds were on the uphill, and I was even this past year in the short season. I said, watch out for the Reds.
Yeah.
They're gonna be good. And now I don't know. I think it's just the ownership thing. I think it's just the ownership doesn't want to spend money, and I got to get some payroll off after that shortened season.
Let's talk about Wilson Contreras, a guy who has been linked to the Angels. Angels need a starting catcher. Got a connection there with Joe Madden. That would be a really good fit. Contreras is a really good catcher, good defensive catcher, and he can hit the long ball too. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that would be a great fit. I think the only way a deal gets done is if you're. I feel like the only way the deal gets done is if you're adding in Kyle Hendricks and maybe a Jason Hayward or um, a Craig
Anything to get
Kimbrell.
rid of Upton, huh?
I I I wouldn't say anything to get rid of Upton. I just think that for the Angels to progress and get to their goal, they
Yeah.
would have to move Upton
Hmm.
or go over the luxury tax. Artie Moreno doesn't go over the luxury tax,
Yeah.
so um, that only leaves one guy, and that leaves Upton. Pujols is off the books next year, so frees up a lot of payroll. But if they can get Hendricks and Contreras, but you take back a Jason Hayward, but
Yeah.
trade Upton, you're taking extra years of Hayward,
Yep.
but you're getting those two other players, and Hayward's not a bad player.
No, he's
Um,
not. No.
you know, he's a good player. So I would say that's the only way for the Angels to keep progressing, and that's the only way that they get Contreras, or they give up some real prospect capital, which they don't have much of.
Yeah.
They have not great pitching prospects. They have young pitching,
Hmm.
but nobody other than Reed Detmers that really stands out um, in their pipeline pitching wise. But they have tons of outfield prospects. So they have Jordan Adams, obviously Joe Adell that came up, Brandon Marsh.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think it's a great fit. They need a catcher, but they also don't have any money. They are close to their payroll of last year already. They're
Yeah.
30 million away from the luxury tax. Um, and if you add those three players, you're kind of retooling, and you can still add another pitcher. Bauer would be a great fit, but once again,
Not for that
they
much
have
money. Yeah.
they don't have money. So, um, or they do have money, but they would have to go to the luxury tax to add multiple pieces.
Yeah.
Which maybe, hey, Artie Moreno says
This.
Albert Pujols is off the books next year, so it doesn't matter. We do it one season, we're under the tax again once Pujols is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it
Um,
resets, right?
yeah, and it resets. So, um, definitely an option. I don't know. Obviously, I have no ties to the Angels organization or their front office. I don't know how they work. I've only worked in with one team in baseball, and that's the Cincinnati Reds. So, but watching the Angels my whole life and knowing how they work, um,
It's always fun to be an armchair GM sometimes. Oh no.
it is, but it's not my money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're two starting pitchers, two really good starting pitchers away. Need a reliever, need a catcher. I honestly think they need a lefty bat in the outfield as well.
Maybe a
Um,
fourth outfielder, like if they want to give Adele some time to go down in the minors.
well, yeah, I'm thinking like a Nick Markakis type of player that's not going to cost too much money, but is a professional
Or
hitter.
even bring back like a guy like Brian Goodwin back. He had some good
Yeah,
success there.
yeah, those guys all make sense to me,
Yeah.
and even like a guy like Josh Reddick who might strike out a little bit, but can hit the long ball, not like his A's days, but
Yeah,
can
yeah.
still
Yeah.
poke the ball around.
Yeah.
Um, he's not going to cost much. That's like a fit. That's a fit that comes to mind. So, um, long-winded answer. They have no money, and
Yeah.
to get Contreras, I would think they would have to be pairing it with um, Kyle Hendricks, just like the Mets did, just like the Padres did with Darvish and Carantini.
Yeah.
Um, you would think that that's the type of deal that would be going down. Justin Upton would be in the deal and would have to waive a no trade clause. Um, and you would expect Craig Kimbrell or Hayward to be coming back in that deal as well. So
Interesting stuff. Yeah, no,
those are my thoughts.
that's a great point. That's awesome. Moving on to Tomoaki Sugano. He's going to return to Japan after failing to strike a deal before that deadline. There was about 4 to 6 teams that made offers. The Blue Jays were one of them, the Padres were one of them, and the Mets were one of them that I believe. Maybe the Giants were in there also. He's going to return to Japan on a 4-year deal, $40 million, but he's got to opt out after years 1, 2, and 3 to have an opportunity to come over to North America. It was just interesting to see him not sign because like he's drawn comparisons to Tanaka. Tanaka came over at 26. This guy's 32. So there's not much time for him to come over here and have success, which was I was kind of confused on why he didn't come over.
I think it's just the pace of the market, which I read, and then in addition to that, um, I think that he just didn't get enough stability with these teams to feel comfortable moving from a different country
Yeah.
during a pandemic,
Yeah.
during all this crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now. I just think that maybe he just wasn't comfortable, and he has the opt outs. Next year, he'll try it again.
Yeah.
Those teams that were interested this year will probably be interested next year, and plus, you have more teams, and that just drives the bidding up. And I think this year was just a flyer year of go meet some teams and prepare for 2022. I mean, that would make sense to me.
And we'll end the podcast with some sad stuff here. We'll talk about Tommy Lasorda. He died at age 93, a legend in LA with the Dodgers. He managed them for 20 years. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1997 as a manager. Our condolences go out to the Lasorda family, and that was tough to see.
Yeah, I mean, he lived a great life though.
Yeah.
Obviously loved him, across the game.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like anybody has a bad thing to say about him. He was fiery. He was fun. Um, he was a tough love type of guy, from what I've seen and what I've read. And yeah, I don't think there's anything to hang your head about. It was a great life, and I feel like celebration more than grief at this point.
Again, our condolences are with the Lasorda family. Thank you guys all for tuning in and listening. We'll be back next week for episode number 20.
Yep, take care, guys.